All right. Hi, everybody. We are just getting everyone situated, so we'll get started very shortly. All right. I think let's get started. Vic and Deron, you guys ready to rock and roll?
Ready to go.
Okay, awesome.
All set.
All right. Well, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining the second installment of our Black Excellence Leadership Series. We at CodePath have just been really excited to present, a very exciting lineup of speakers throughout the summer. Folks from the tech community, VC community, both from the nonprofit side as well as from the industry as well. For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Emily Chong, and I'm the head of marketing here at CodePath. Before I hand it over to our fantastic speakers, just wanted to go over a couple of house rules for today. So today's session, we're going to start off with a 45-minute moderated discussion. My colleague Victoria will be the moderator. And then we'll open it up for audience Q&A in the last 15 minutes. So during the first half of the session, I do ask if everyone can please stay on mute. However, if you do have questions or commentary, if you want to just say hello there, I see a few folks already doing that, feel free to add your commentary to chat. And then at the 45-minute mark, we'll open it up for audience Q&A. And that's pretty much it. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Victoria, who's the head of university relations here at CodePath.
Thank you so much, Emily, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria Angulo. I am the head of growth and university relations here at CodePath. I'm really excited to join the team, and I'm working to create partnerships with like-minded organizations that can accelerate our campus expansion and supporting student leaders and professors in bringing CodePath to their campus. So speaking to great students like all of you is part of my job, which is just great. I'm excited to go ahead and introduce Deron today. I'm honored to introduce him. Deron joined Intel in 2010 and has traveled globally integrating software and services for municipalities. He's built over 50 production applications in 20 different software languages. From 2017 to 2020, he was a software engineering professor at the University of Arizona. And as a staff software architect, Deron spent his days building machine learning apps to remove bias from retention, progression, hiring, and exits. So Deron was a student just like all of you all not too long ago. So he's really excited to give you all some advice, tell you about his story. So welcome, Deron.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You all could be anywhere in the world you today virtually, but you're here with us and you're here with me. So I appreciate that. I'm so excited about the future aspirations that you all have, and I can't wait to share in the success that all of you are going to have.
Wonderful. Thank you, Deron. So I'll go ahead and just kick it off. So I would like to know, how would you describe your journey in tech?
Yeah, certainly. So, I could start from the the wee old day and say, for good time I was 3, but now I think we'll kick it off here. So, by the way, I'm a talker. I love to interface with people and share stories and whatnot. So, I think we'll have a great time, and I'm happy to follow with folks in the future if we need to. So I remember my first PC. Mine was an Apple II. It's something my grandparents owned, and this is way back in the day where, in order to make a line, there wasn't an underscore. You couldn't do any of that. You had to use E's, and it was green. That was the text on top of these giant black tubes, right? So the giant machine, giant floppy disk, etc. on that. And to print off paper, it was perforated edges. So you had to tear off the printed sheets that came out. They were all connected together. And I remember spending a lot of time on Lemonade Stand. That was the game that we played on the floppy disk and whatnot. What was really interesting about that is that I learned to type on a typewriter. Some people had the first machines learning to type on the computers and whatnot. It was a typewriter. Again, my grandparents owned it, and you couldn't make any mistakes because my grandma did not like using up that whiteout. Whiteout was pretty expensive then. So yeah, everything you made had to really get into being a professional about it when it came to typing. So that was fun. But my family, and like many of the folks who were maybe online, we had a tough upbringing. Kind of tough, but we managed. So my mother and father worked very hard, and they still work very hard to this day. But there were plenty of times growing up where didn't have the power, couldn't pay the power bill, so we had to eat by candlelight. Couldn't pay their water bill, so we had to go outside with buckets to fill up and put into our toilet in order to flush the toilet and whatnot. But my father had saved up 2 months' salary, or 2 months' pay, I should say, to get our first immediate family PC. It was for me, so I could do homework and keep up with the rest of my classmates. Got this computer, maybe a compact or something of that sort, maybe one of these companies that don't exist at the time anymore. But I set this thing up, living room, on the carpet, had a red cup of Kool-Aid. I'll never forget this. First day, took my hand, accidentally spilt that Kool-Aid, red Kool-Aid all over the computer, done. And just like that investment, that family investment we made, for me and my sister and whatnot, down the drain. So, I cried. It was very tough. I felt I let the family down in that instance. Then fast forward a little bit, we get our second computer, a Windows 3.1. Viruses, they refurbished, never last. Moved on to a Windows 95 system, maybe a gateway machine. Again, viruses, never last. Refurbished devices. Went on to Windows 98, 3 to 6 months, it just didn't last. And I remember thinking to myself that, man, we put so much money into these devices for an opportunity to have a better education, right? My family's sacrificing on these machines for us. I wasn't going to let that stop us. I was going to figure out how these machines work so that I would never again have to feel that my family is held captive by these devices. And so from there, I made it my mantra to go off in tech, figure out how those devices work. And long story short, I'm where I am today.
Wow, Deron, thank you. That's such a great perspective, and I really liked how you walked us through your upbringing. And I bet it's hard to drink Kool-Aid every once in a while.
See that red glass? Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much for sharing that. So we have a lot of diverse students here on the call with us today. So I would really like to dig into how would you say that being Black has played a significant role in your journey in tech, in the success or any different aspects of what you've experienced in the tech field?
Yeah, I would say absolutely, both positive and negative, but would never apologize. There's your uniqueness, diversity that you bring into the tech field is one of a kind. And that's something that we should all be proud of, because we all have that special uniqueness. So I'll tell this true story. The year was about 2014, and so I'm halfway through my tech career at this stage with Intel. Successful in my job, you're well off. Had finished paying off my student loans. I didn't have any debt during the time. On a cruise, because that's what I like to do for enjoyment. I like going on cruises. And we ended up landing back in Miami, Florida. We can get into the port in Miami, and I'm with my significant other at the time and her parents. I get a knock on the cruise door, and open up the door, and it's 4 officers with Dobermans, German Shepherds, Rottweilers. And they asked if my name is Mr. Simmons. I say, yes, that's my name. They asked me to step outside, put me in handcuffs and detain me. Asked if I had any drugs, most prevalently, cocaine and whatnot, because I had just gotten back from the Dominican Republic and a number of other places. I don't do any of that stuff. Never did. Never had. Said okay, but they told me to keep my head down, and they were taking me away. And so 3,000 people on this cruise ship, right? So a mega ship. And then you have all the folks on the dock who are waiting to get on their ship. Then you have everyone else, is out there, in the city of Miami, is watching me, get moved off this ship. It's an embarrassment to myself, embarrassment to, my girlfriend's parents at the time, and of course the person I was with at the time. And I'm wondering, what did I do? I don't have any answers. What was it about me? What did I do? So, officer wouldn't say. He said, "Hey, you should, what you did." That was a Friday. Jails aren't open, and judges aren't open, and courts aren't open on weekends. So I had to spend 3 days out in Miami for an opportunity to speak my case, so to speak. Monday rolls around, get in front of a judge, and then you have two options, and you only have 10 seconds in front of a judge. Judge says, "Hey, Mr. Simmons, you are charged with aggravated assault, assault with a deadly weapon, breaking and entering. 12.5 years is what you're facing." Judge, that's not me. I would not do any of those things. I'm fortunate and blessed to be well off. Not me at all. I don't know where you're getting these charges from. So I had two options. One option was to wait 14 days, and the state who had asked for me to return had 14 days to come get me. Or I could wait 30 days, and the governor would have to clear it and say, yes, this is indeed not the person we're looking for, let him go. I only had 3 weeks of vacation. I just used one vacation on the ship, and here we are. We have a decision to be made. So of course, I went ahead and said, yeah, I'll wait the 2 weeks. Now, technically, I was in this process called extradition, and when you're being extradited, you don't have the same rights as a prisoner would have. You also don't have the same rights as a free man or woman would have. So you are in this state, just kind of this floating state of somewhere in between. Couldn't contact anyone. Because if you contact someone while you're being extradited, then that puts the folks who are moving you and transporting you at risk. So anyway, so I was in these different holding cells and these different prisons for 14 days. Day 14 comes. I thought, hey, I'm getting ready to exit. I'm ready. It's time for me to leave, get back over to my life, get this handled. Now they have 14 days to come get you. I did not know that on day 14, as long as they come get you in that process, they're still in compliance. It doesn't mean there's 14 days to send you back to where you need to go. It's 14 days to just come out and get you. So just like Dog the Bounty Hunter, they send bounty hunters after me to take me from my location in Miami, and they were transporting this time all the way back to Arizona. And so you're in this ice cream truck. You're shackled from your hands and your wrists, on your waist, on your ankles, and you stay in that truck for 7 straight days. You don't get off for anything. There's no light, no nothing. You get 1 meal a day. That's a Happy Meal with a Sprite. If you have allergies or you have dietary preferences, so that's tough. There's a restroom on the truck you can use, but they don't want to shackle your hands for anything. So imagine if you had to go, you're number 2, you're tough. You're out of luck because you're not wiping. So 7 days in the truck, get to a halfway house. They take you to the halfway house, and then you spend another 7 days in the halfway house waiting for your next ride to come out, sleeping on concrete, way overcrowded, all the things you can imagine, folks brushing their teeth inside toilets, all that kind of stuff. Then you get in another ice cream truck or a bus, and it sends you out to your side of the country. So I went out west, but you're going back and forth. You're doing a whole site country tour, but you don't get to look out of the window and see anything. You're sitting there riding with no idea of when you'll make it back. Fast forward, 32 days later, I get back to the state of Arizona. Get out, go to the judge, say, "Judge, again, this is not me. I have no idea what these charges come from or it came from." He said, "Hey, is your name, or what's your name?" I said, "Hey, my name is Deron Simmons." And he says, "Oh, your name is not Deron L. Simmons?" No, Judge, it's not. My name is Deron Simmons with an M. Looked at it, say, "You're free to go." And so I felt so frustrated thinking, how can someone who has a successful career in tech, is college educated, why me? How could this happen to me? So I was frustrated, went in, decided to try to sue the city to get have some recourse done. But of course, everyone who's a part of it works for the state. I spent $41,000 trying to right the wrong of having that month taken from me, but it was all for naught. But I tell this story not because I want folks to feel bad or all that kind of stuff, but I could then let that be the end. I could have said, hey, life is unfair. I'm done with this. I want to do a different direction. But no, I didn't let that stop me. Since that point, still went on, had my job. My reputation had preceded me, so still had the job. Boss said, don't worry about it. Believe you 100%. Went off and still got promotions, went off and still became a professor, went off and did everything else that I wanted to go accomplish. And I now have that as part of my story to share. So yes, so absolutely, your Blackness, your uniqueness, you take that with you everywhere you go. That does not leave you just because you get into the tech industry. But never let anything like that keep you from going off and succeeding and accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish.
Wow, Deron, I am speechless. Everyone, can we get a virtual clap in the chat, please, for that incredibly inspiring story? Thank you. That honestly, I'm at a loss of words, but the way that you handled it and the way that you see it as something that's not going to stop you, and just to be able to be so vulnerable with us, really, thank you so much, Deron. That's really, really powerful. Thank you. I have a question, regarding the glass ceiling and how minorities in tech can start to break that glass ceiling as they move forward in their careers. Do you have any advice around that?
Yeah, I see it this way. A lot of people don't want to go and pursue the opportunities that are where they feel it are above them. Either they don't have the full skill sets of what's requested and say a job rec or an open requisite, or they have this fear that, hey, if I go and pursue this, I'm going to fail. If I fail, I'll never have another opportunity to do those things again. By us in this community, and especially you African Americans, by not going off and pursuing those roles, you're giving an opportunity for someone who may be less prepared than you are to have that role. And then from there, they may not have the inclusive mindset to build off inclusive teams or diverse teams and whatnot, where you might have that mindset. So never have that fear. Never say you aren't good enough to go and grab one of those opportunities when they're presented in front of you. Now, in terms of the glass ceiling, and that can be the case, but there are ways to overcome that. You have to be vocal. You have to let people know what you want. And you cannot let fear succumb you to your comfort zone. You got to step out of that. By having more diverse leaders in positions of leadership and influence, they'll go off and build more diverse and inclusive teams. All right. And one of those leaders can be you. So I know there's some people sitting on this line thinking, man, I don't have what it takes to get past that ceiling. Yes, you do. The other thing I want to tell on this subject is that the folks who are in positions of leadership right now, man, they have a lot more influence than you think. I talk to leaders all the time, and what they tell me is that they get frustrated that people don't ask enough of them. They think that they don't have the capabilities to make the change that they're capable of making. These leaders want to hear from us. They want that advice. They want actionable things to go pursue. So take it to them and watch what they can do. You'll be quite surprised.
I like that. Thank you, Deron. I wanna follow up. Just going off of that impactful story that you told us, and the way the conversation's going. I'd like to ask, How did you make it to these higher up roles as a person of color, given that it isn't always the easiest for people of color, especially Black people?
Yeah, that's a great question. So thank you for asking. One of the things that I always did, and I've done this at every phase of my career, I never said no to opportunities. I came in with the mindset of this, where it does not matter what it is that you ask me to do. I'm going to go off and be the best version of me when it comes to performing that task, right? So I see this happen a lot. Uh, task is offered to the team. Nobody wants to go do the task, either because it's not desirable or people don't feel that they're comfortable being successful doing those tasks. Some good advice I was given was that it's really great to go after tasks that people expect you to fail at, right? So tasks that you would assume are out of your league. Now, here's the great thing about that. By going off and pursuing these higher level asks, if you fail, so what? Everybody expected you to fail anyways, right? So it's not a big deal. There's low expectations of you succeeding. So what? But what if you were to be successful in the pursuit of that? What if you were able to take whatever was asked of you and go over and beyond and again succeed, right? Then from there, people say, "Wow, I gave you an impossible task, and you knocked it out of the park. I had zero confidence that you were going to go do this exceedingly well, but you absolutely nailed it. Hey, I have this other project over here. Why don't you take a look at it?" And so that's what I did. Regardless of whether it was take out the trash, right? Program management, data analyst, software engineering, integrator, no matter what it was, I was going to say yes to. And I was going to take that opportunity and be the best version of me in those opportunities. And then from there, new opportunities would open up. I'll tell you this one assignment I got to do, and it's all because I asked. We had this assignment where we were integrating this team, this acquisition that we just purchased into the company. And this acquisition had a background in doing 4K camera work. And they needed someone to run a couple teams for different sporting events, because we were building these 4K 3D cameras and whatnot. Saw the opportunity. No one volunteered. I knew it was well above my league, but I said, "Hey, you know what? I'll take a shot at it." So I got to go out to the All-Star game. I got to go out to different NBA playoff games. I got to go to the Super Bowl, leading all these teams, putting together these cameras and whatnot. All because I just stepped up and asked, and no one else wanted. So when those opportunities come, say yes to them. It doesn't matter what those opportunities happen to be, but say yes. And if you are successful in those opportunities, the doors will just swing open for you.
I love that. Thank you. The chat, everyone is super happy in the chat, so we're loving it. Thank you so much. So, Deron, I'd like to dig into, just going into what is it like to be a Black executive? Do you have any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs who want to take an idea to MVP?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of it comes down to hustle and thinking differently, right? So if you follow the same path of everyone, then of course, some of that will maybe be successful, but that uniqueness, that niche is really what makes people stand out. Like when I have to hire or when I do recruiting whatnot, I'm always looking for folks who have a niche. With my students, I'm always looking for the uniqueness of them. So I'll give a specific example, right? One thing that worked really well with me when I was just starting off. So at a time, I got my start by building websites on the side. I would do it for nonprofits, right? So I went out and said, "Hey, nonprofit, I'd like to have more skills in this area, whatnot. Is it okay if I work with you to revise your website 100% free?" I just wanted to do that for me, gain the skills. The nonprofit, of course, just delivered. Worked out great. Continuing on this path, Okay, well, now I can build these sites. Can I build a product? Can I be successful in something here? Well, how do you get people to identify with you and your product if you don't have the pedigree or the background to stand on for them to give you good time of day? Got online, went out to what we call nowadays influencers, but I went onto YouTube, watched a couple of channels, found people with about 100,000 to maybe about 400,000 subscribers. It's not huge YouTube stars, but enough of a following and some influence. Reached out and said, "Hey, I really like your videos. I am inspired by the content you put together. This is something that I'm working on that is in your domain. Would you please give your feedback and your honest review on it?" Right? If you hate it, tell me you hate it. If you love it, tell me you love it. But any feedback is better than none, so I can go off and improve this. And when you do that, people are often flattered and will many times take you up on that. They share with their audience, and next thing you know, boom, 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 down the line, folks are flocking to your product. And it's all just because you went out and you reached out to someone that you were inspired by in order to get that product out in front of folks. You did the same thing for a number of different blogs. Said, hey, I'm working on something here. I see that you have a great following. I read your blogs. I'm inspired by it, or a podcaster, things of that sort. And these people really helped push some of my early products that I did out there. Got some great experience by it. From the Black kind of technical leadership standpoint, I wear my flag every single day. I bring my full self to work, whether I'm teaching, whether I'm engineering. Look at my hair, right? So this is the same hair I had in front of my students. It's the same hair I've had for many years at the company I work on. By having that uniqueness, by going out and doing things differently, it's going to put you at, don't try to blend in. It's too crowded to do that. You have to remain diligent and remain yourself.
I love that. Thank you, Deron. And a lot of our students in these difficult times, as well as many people are going through so much trauma. How do you stay optimistic during these times?
Yeah, certainly. We have lots of things going on in the globe right now. So, we have the COVID pandemic. We have obviously our human rights issues that we have in the U.S. and in other countries. We have environmental crises that are going on in Arctic. We have other type of natural disaster with wildfires, et cetera. So all these things are going on, and it puts pressure on us. What we have to remember in everything that we do, first and foremost, is our health. We got to take care of us. We got to take care of the individual. If you are not healthy, if you are not in your right mind, you can't go off and be the best student. You can't go off and be the best employee. So take care of yourself first and foremost. Second, don't be afraid to have conversations. Come to those conversations from a place of wanting to understand. And if you do so, you will be surprised at who opens up to you. I've had folks who reached out to me who been colleagues of mine or acquaintances, I would say, who feel differently about some of the issues that I know I'm prevalent on. But they still respect me and they respect my views because I come to them from a point of understanding and they come to me from a point of understanding. It's okay to have difficult discussions so long as we're respectful while we're having those discussions.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'd like to take a little turn in our conversation and just talk about, we have a lot of CS majors here who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs in the future, and they're also curious about AI. So what technologies does a student have to know to become a professional AI developer?
Yes, sir. So, okay, so I'm going to put on my professor hat here for a second, and I'm going to tell you this. That's actually one of the most common questions I get when I profess or anytime I mentor or whatnot, is what technology should I know to be successful in this industry or in this field, or what should I go off and money and master and all that. Honestly, you could pick 100% of any languages that are out there, and you become a professional in that language, then you'll be able to quickly see patterns and pick up other languages and other tool sets where it all starts making sense to you. You're not going to go wrong any path you pick. But people don't like that answer. They like instructions, actionable things. So that's what I'm going to give you here too. So if I had to say, this is just my list. Other people may have different lists, but this is mine. The three most relevant languages for AI today are the following. I would say one is Python. Python is the second most popular language that exists today. It's been around a long time. I got my start in it. You're doing mathematics, really, and algorithms and whatnot. But its flexibility to use on the front end, back end, and in embedded devices as well makes it very popular, right? So you can look at libraries that it comes with, like TensorFlow or Skitlearn or PyTorch or Spark. All those things fall in the realm of Python. And if you become successful in any of those libraries or Python itself, it's going to open you up to a lot of opportunities today that are prevalent in machine learning and AI. A second one I would say is Java, right? So Java has a deep Java library, this open natural language processing. If you look at a lot of the cloud operators out there, they use Java in their machine learning and AI applications. And you can also use TensorFlow in Java space as well. And then the last one, if you really like scripting, script-based works and embedded type processing, then you might want to look at R. And R is similar to MATLAB. So if you worked with any type of visual devices or MATLAB in school, then I think you'll be able to pick up R. It has ODBC interfaces, G models, etc. But once again, it doesn't matter if you choose one of those three that I said or anything else. As long as you go off and you pursue, whatever language that you are passionate about, there's always going to be some AI functionality to it. And then fast forward, 10 years from now, maybe those languages aren't even in the top discussion anymore. You got to have this ability just to continue to learn and the desire to want to pursue education, not just for the sake of, say, having a degree or sake of the accolades it might bring, but just because you personally, you desire to learn it.
Thank you for that. Hope everyone's probably taking notes and really taking this all in. So thank you for that, Deron. So with everything going on with COVID, students are nervous about the job market. What kind of advice would you offer regarding job searching during COVID-19? And what strategies should we use for virtual networking?
For sure. No, that's a great question there. I'm gonna put a perspective on as a recruiter for a minute. It is so hard and so difficult to find competent talent in the software engineering space. Yeah, this is an unprecedented time, and it has been for years now, where the demand for this type of talent is so much larger than the supply. So you will have tremendous opportunity to get into this field, and COVID only just supplements that ability, right? So what I would tell my students is that cast a net wide. When you're looking at a university, you don't just say, hey, I'm going to apply to this one university, put all my eggs in this basket. If I don't get to this university, I'm not going to school. That's it, right? We don't say that. So you wouldn't do the same thing when it comes for looking for potential employers. You want to have a very wide net and be open to any opportunity that comes in that space. So now with COVID, the opportunities have grown tenfold, right? So demand was high before. Just think of how high the demand is now. Because now you might have opportunities to work for some companies that would require you to be in specific locations. They're looking at remote opportunities. And in fact, the company I work for is now looking at doing remote opportunities in locations that we don't have a relevant employee base. So it is such an amazing chance that you have here with COVID to you work for a number of companies that are dying to have your talent. You will never come short of that. Now, and what makes you a great candidate for hire? That's another thing. Everybody's competing for jobs, of course. Companies need your talent, but they're not just going to go get anyone, right? So what can you do to be in the best position so that that company or many companies pick you? Well, a lot of it comes to what you're doing outside of school. Your education is part of it, but I want to share this, right? So a lot of people say, hey, I got to walk out of here with a 4.0 or otherwise I'm worthless. You want to know what I got? My undergrad, the I graduate, I think I graduated with a 3.01, just barely hitting that 3.0 mark. And I needed every elective non-engineering to help me get there. My first programming class was a programming class in Java. I got a D+. That's what I got. A D+ in Java. I had a C and C++. And at the time, my professor, and when I first joined, this is at freshman year, he said, look to your left. It's your right, my left. Look to my right, your left. And he said, those people aren't going to be there come next year. Went from 500 students who were in a computer engineering course down to 150 the following year. And then when it came time for me to go through my undergraduate graduation, I walked with 3 other people. It was myself, my 2 roommates, and a guy from Croatia who I think is the smartest person I ever met in my life. That was it, right? So when you're getting these type of situations thinking that I'm not going to have an opportunity here, one is to finish, get through and finish, right? Go all the way through that line. It doesn't matter what you come out with, but get to that finish line. And then from there, know your worth. They know that they're after you because you are special and you have more expertise in the subject matter than you really give yourself credit for, all right? I believe in all of you. I know that I'm so excited for this cohort. I'm so excited for CodePath students because, hey, there are plenty of opportunities that we have here, plenty of opportunities that my colleagues have at other companies, and we're waiting on talent like you to go fill it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deron. That's great. What strategies have you heard of that can be helpful for virtual networking and getting in front of some of these employers or just things of that nature?
Yeah, so if you're relying on solely putting your resume in on these sites like Monster, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, you're going to be one of thousands. I'm being honest with you there. But if you really want to make that connection and hop to the beginning of the line, make it easy on the recruiters. One of the things that I do is, I'll go out to LinkedIn, right? See someone with a recruiter in their title for a company that I may be interested in. And this is something I recommend to my students. Reach out to that recruiter, say, hey, recruiter, my name is such and such. I noticed that on the website for the company, you're looking for these type of roles here. I think that I have some skills that may be a fit for those roles. What do you think, right? And then from the recruiter's perspective, you're gold. You just made their job so much easier because they have someone who's willing to do the work and they don't have to go off and find people and convince them to do a good job, right? So that's going to give you a huge leg up. Don't be afraid to just reach out, but come from a position of humility. Come from a position of you want to learn and you want to be in these companies, not because you're chasing dollar signs, but because you really feel like you can make a difference and offer something new to them, just like you would get something in return. I think that's fabulous. Another thing you can do is go out to places like meetup.com, right? And other type of networking tools like that. And I'm sure many of you are part of Facebook groups. Go out and say, hey, who are these other leaders in tech? Where are they meeting? Can I join on a Zoom call with them? Can I reach out to them? They may have opportunities that aren't posted. Yeah, they may say, wow, if the folks who are filling these opportunities are coming to me, man, that's going to make my job so much easier. So just don't hesitate. Come again from a position of humility, and those opportunities will be there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And once again, it goes back to that confidence as well, right? So just messaging the recruiters, making it easy for them. Thank you for that, Deron. So we have a question here from a student regarding next steps after graduation, right? So the question is, as an undergraduate and aspiring software engineer, I'm conflicted about the next steps after graduation because it is difficult and costly to be job hunting while applying for graduate school. Would getting an advanced master's or doctoral degree in computer science first be more beneficial? Should I prioritize one over the other? What would be the best path, taking the trends in the industry into consideration?
Yes, certainly. My heart goes out to the student and the students who are feeling this way, because this was me. When I had an opportunity to get my undergrad degree, I thought the same thing, right? Man, I should stay in school and go off and pursue my graduate degree, or I can go off and look for employment right away. Which do I do? I was conflicted. I want to say that if you have this conflict, I want you to know that one, there's no wrong decisions here, and two, you will have the opportunity to pursue both, right? So if you decide to go the grad school route, many times you will be paired up with sponsors or even tech companies that want your services as early as possible. That's where the internships come from. That's where they're reaching out to you and say, hey, as part of your curriculum, come work for us and get credit for the work that you're doing. All in hopes of developing that pipeline to get you as a resource, right? Because they need you, right? We need you. Um, the other portion of this is understanding that um, not just the internships, but everything that you do puts you in a fantastic position in order to have new opportunities in the future, right? These are all your projects on the side. This is all of the volunteerism that you do. All of those things are going to put you in great position for that. So if you're looking at the grad school route, you're going to have opportunities there. Let's say that you decide to go into industry first, which is what I did. Let your employer know right away that, hey, I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to be a member of X company. One of the things that I'm passionate about is continue my education. Is that something that we can do here if it brings value and the return on investment is there for the company? The earlier that you let your management and leadership team know that, the earlier they can put that into the budget so that they can pay you to go off and get that degree. Worked out in my case fantastically, right? So for me, I let my management know the day I got hired, I care about advanced education. I decided to come work, but I'm very passionate about continuing this, and got it into scope and budget. And over the next 2 years, when it came time to have those discussions on budget, they remembered my requests, and I was able to go off and get that paid. Didn't have to cost me anything out of pocket in that regards. So no wrong answers. Go be diligent about either choice you make, but you don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great answer, Deron. So I know that our students have lots of questions. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand over the mic to my colleague, Emily, who's going to open up the floor for Q&A. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so we have one question from Naomi from the Zoom chat. So Deron, I know earlier you opened up with a really powerful anecdote about the discrimination that you faced, and then how you were able to turn that into a positive situation and also use it to spark conversation. So the question is, what would you say is an ideal way to invite a respectable conversation to drive change?
Certainly. One, you want to have it with people you trust initially. Go to the folks who you feel close and comfortable with. Let them know what is in your heart and how you feel, and the impact that it's having on your life. If you come from it from a very stagnant point of view, then you're going to get very kind of cold responses in return. But be open, be true to who you are. Second, be willing to invite, after you've gone through the good trust zone, right? Then be willing to invite people who you may not normally associate with to that table, but let them know that you want them to be there because you want to have an understanding. You want to have a conversation with them so that you might learn something, right? So people are always, again, very flattered when you approach them from a position of wanting to take their expertise, right? And wanting to siphon that. If you do so from that way, and again, are very true to who you are, then you'll get a grand reception. People will be receptive to that. Under the circumstance where someone is not, and they're not in the stage right now, at this date, to have those conversations, just thank them and say, hey, I know you're not ready to have this conversation at this time. I will be here for you when you're comfortable, to have that discussion. You can always count on me to be a great work partner or great colleague or great student ambassador for you. And when you're ready, my doors are open or my arms are open so that we can have the discussion. That does wonders, and it can really move someone. Because yes, we're in tech, but at the end of the day, we're all people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great question.
Very much indeed. Okay, so we have a question from Sanjana. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And the question is, as an entry-level international student, how hard would it be now to find a job? And a follow-up question to that is, what are the core skills that Intel expects students like us to have?
Yeah, okay, so two-part question there. I'll answer the first one. So as an international student, how difficult is it to find a job? Yeah, I know that many of us have heard some of the changes to the H-1B process and whatnot. I don't want you to have a fear of that, because the impact on technology, new employees is minimal in that regards. Okay, so that's the one takeaway you should have there. Second, as I said earlier, the demand for this type of work super exceeds by quite a lot the available supply for the talent. So again, have a lot of confidence for the industry you're getting into. Now, take this in mind too. If your only goal is to work for one company, let's say a FANG company like Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, whatever, know that other people have those same aspirations and you're competing against other top quality talent. But there are a tremendous number of companies, some tech, some not tech, who need technical talent. Okay, and you can go off there and pursue those because they're waiting on you. They're dying to have your skill set. International, national, it does not matter. They need you. Now, what type of skills does Intel need specifically? Intel, like many other organizations in the Fortune 500 or Fortune 100, is very vast. We have skills across the board. I can tell you the tools that we work on in my team. It's from everything on full stack development. That's React. We use Angular. We've looked at Vue before. We looked at middleware like Node.js. We looked at SQL. We looked at Mongo and Cassandra. So the tools are vast. Other parts of the organization might have Java. Some use some Microsoft products like C# and C. And if you're really interested in working on embedded devices, maybe you're in the C++ or the Rust family. So you are going to have plenty of opportunity to work at any of those large companies, regardless of your skill set. We have a growing and thriving AI department. We have a growing and thriving autonomous driving department. We have a growing and thriving embedded Internet of Things department. And they're all looking for unique skills and unique languages that some may have and others are yet to be defined. When you're working in these industries, keep in mind that it's not like getting a degree in history, and no offense to folks who have that, but everything we do in our industry continues to change and continues to morph daily. So the tools that we may need 5 years from now may not even be invented yet. So come from the state of, yes, I have these skill sets. Yes, I'm going to use that as my starting point. But as long as you continue to learn and you're willing to go off and solve problems, yeah, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to do anything that you want in tech.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a question from Jorge. We have a lot of students who are not necessarily majoring in computer science, but are still trying to break into tech. They want to land, they want to build a career in software engineering. So what is the path like for someone who is not majoring in CS? And for you as a hiring leader, how common is it for you to find people that fit those profiles?
Yeah, that's another great question. So thank you for asking. So there's this misconception, this myth out there that you must have the traditional 4-year, 5-6 year degree in a STEM, or more specifically a software engineering discipline, to get an opportunity in this space. So first and foremost, professor, right? Work it until I went the traditional route. I would suggest, there's great things by going through school and finishing. I'm not saying anyone drop out, okay? But I want you to know too that that's not a requirement for this industry as it is for some other industries. Or you're not going to walk into a law firm without passing a bar. You're not going to go into dentistry, without getting specific disciplines down that domain. But inside tech, as long as you can do the work, then you will be honored as equally as any other candidate. I'll give you a story. I had a teammate in this group, here at Intel, who, believe it or not, didn't complete high school. Right, so he came through the company via an acquisition we made long ago, had an 8th grade education, went to 2 years of high school, decided he had enough of that, later went back to get his GED, but taught himself everything that he knows today in tech. Right, so he went through and said, I'm going to teach myself how to program. I'm going to teach myself about agile methodologies. I'm going to teach myself about good coding principles. All self-taught. One of the best programmers, again, that I think I've met recently in my career. And he continues to thrive as a software developer, even though he doesn't have that traditional education. When I taught at the university, many of my students came from different backgrounds. Some of them were in the restaurant business. Some of them were in retail. Some of them were in late stages of their career. Many of these people had jobs, families, kids, were grandparents, and wanted to come over and said, join the realm of tech. So it is never too late to get started. Everything that you have done to this date is part of your experience that makes you unique. But don't let the fact that you didn't do it traditionally, straight out of high school to get that 4-year degree or whatnot, stop you from being successful or pursuing other opportunities in this industry.
Great. Super, super inspiring. Okay, so let's talk about outsourcing and AI and automation. We have a question from one of our students. And the question is, do you see tech giants outsourcing labor to foreign countries and the pay scale for software engineers to dip in the near future? And then actually, why don't you answer that first and then I'll ask the follow-up.
Yeah, for folks who are U.S. citizens or recognize the United States as their home country, as one of the things that people fear is is the labor force emigrating away from the home base. I want to say no, and I'm going to tell you a reason why. Just because more opportunities are opening up overseas and in different locations doesn't mean the available jobs and the pool of job opportunities is shrinking. It's quite the opposite. The pool of opportunity is increasing so much that these new opportunities and jobs are opening up to fill in the gaps of where they can't be closed here within the States. So don't look at it as, hey, these jobs are migrating from one location to another location. No, their new jobs are coming on board because the desire and the demand for those is so high. The other part too is that our economy is becoming more and more and more so global. So by having, say, a company only focus on U.S. and employees, then that's short-sighted for a lot of these international companies, right? So you need folks in Asia who understand the Asian culture. You need folks in places like Europe to understand the European culture. Same thing for Africa, same thing for South America. Being able to have these people in those areas will make your company and the companies themselves reflect their customer base. And that's ultimately what they want. Now, um, more generically, if we're talking about jobs that are in Silicon Valley and what that might look like in their near future, I think it's actually going to make the companies that reside in Silicon Valley more inclusive, right? Because now we're able to hire talent in different locations that couldn't before. Not everybody wants to leave grandma, auntie, uncle from where they are and migrate over to the western part of the United States. So it's a tremendous opportunity. And many of you may not even reside in Silicon Valley, and you'll have opportunities to work for some of those companies that are there because of everything that's going on now. So you definitely don't have that fear. The reason that these international countries and companies are adding new talent in different places is because the demand says so, and the work is required, and they want to make sure that their workforce reflects their customers.
Great, awesome. Okay, we have 4 minutes left. Lots of questions here. So I'd like to ask, Daniel here has a question. Related to the story that you shared during the start of today's session, how have you managed your safe space at Intel, especially after your release?
Yes, so certainly. After going through an experience like that, it may be difficult for some, and even for myself, to come back into work and perform at the levels I was before that experience. One of the things I made sure to do was to put myself in the best position prior to anything happening ever, right? Because you never know what's going to occur, but put yourself in the best position to have a reputation that people will admire and respect and can be there for you in your absence. So if I had been a slouch, if I had been cruel to the people who I worked with, if I was short with them, then the opportunity to come back and continue my success at Intel and to continue to teach at the university, those opportunities would have never came to me. So as you go off and do everything that you do, recall that. All right, so have patience. Be willing to have what we call mouse ears versus an alligator's mouth, right? We want to listen. So again, if something were to happen where you aren't present in that room, people are still talking about you, but they're speaking positively about you. Now, in regards to the safe space, I had folks who I can trust. It didn't take me a very long time to open up in the story, I'll say that, but I surrounded myself with people who I can trust. Continue to be me and the fullness of all of that entails. And folks saw me as me and not this person who ran into a bad circumstance and shouldn't be where he is in tech.
Great, thank you. Unfortunately, all good things do come to an end eventually. We have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to ask you our closing question. So what would you like our students to take away from today?
I want you all to take away this. If you don't take away anything else, is this. All the speakers that you're going to interface with from now until the end of the cohort, take portions of what they say. Find pieces that resonate with you. Even the things that I shared with you, figure out what resonates with you and make that part of your journey. If you do everything that I said, then you'll end up exactly where I am. Right? And I don't want you to end up where I am. I want you to super exceed me. I want you to go off and look at me as a target and say, you know what? You only got there. I'm going to use you as a bar, and I'm coming after you, and I want to be more successful in this industry than you were. You know, that's the reason that I work so hard, is because I know you all are on my tails, and I can't wait for you to get into the space and push the industry much further than I could ever take it. No one is more youer than you. Yeah, that's a Dr. Seuss quote right there. Just take that and run with it.
Thank you. That's an amazing quote. Very, very inspiring. Thank you again, Deron, for joining today's session. Thank you to all of the students who joined as well. We will email a recording of today's session to everybody. If you'd like to watch again, we'll also share Deron's contact information as well as LinkedIn profile for those of you who would like to connect afterwards. But thank you again, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Deron.
Take care.
Thank you all. Thanks for having me.